Welcome back to another edition of Research Fantasy presents our MLB DFS Pitcher Primer for Saturday, April 8th, 2017. And folks, today we can thank the heavens because we have no shortage of good pitching options on this slate. I know that's something we all wanted to hear after dealing with some pretty ugly slates over the past few nights. There is no shortage of guys that we want to target today. Now, here's one thing I want to get out of the way. Do we want to play Clayton Kershaw in our games tonight? And the answer is yes and no. In cash games, with Bumgarner facing a really bad San Diego Padres team, and actually that's not even true. The Padres, I think, actually are an improving offense. A lot of they are not good. It comes from the fact that their pitching staff is awful. I mean, awful, like eons worse than anything else in the major leagues. So I think this is going to be a tricky position throughout the year to determine, like, how do we pick on the Padres. And to be honest with you, I could very easily see the Padres becoming much like the Braves, where, like, you want to play against them, but they're probably going to, turn things on in like the 6th or 7th inning, could cost your starting pitcher the win. And on DraftKings especially, that's important because at least on FanDuel now the emphasis is put on the quality start. DraftKings, all the chips are in on the win. So anyway, Clayton Kershaw, cash games, I just don't think you can do it. There is a little bit of risk. He didn't pitch in Coors last year that I could find. He didn't pitch in Coors the year before, and the times that he met the Rockies, he only gave up 1 run. I think he had a pretty good outing in Coors the second time he played the Rockies in 2015. The first time he gave up 5 earned runs. Nothing huge. I think like the big hit was a double to Arenado. So I mean, I don't think that you need to go to Kershaw in your cash games. But in tournaments where he's been reduced like 2K from opening day, I'm going to have a lot of Clayton Kershaw tonight. I think that Coors, I mean, look, let's just talk about what it is. So you don't want to target guys in Coors, pitchers. You don't want to look at pitchers in Coors. That's great. The Rockies aren't hitting the baseball. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. They had a good opening day, but other than that, the top 5 in the order have basically been useless except for a walk-off home run by Nolan Arenado, not the last time they played, but two nights ago. This is an offense that's stumbling out of the gates, and yes, they will get things turned on, but are you going to sit here and tell me that at the end of the day, you think Kershaw is the pitcher that they're going to get it turned on against? If they're struggling now, facing Clayton Kershaw is probably not going to break them out of their funk. So I'm okay with waiting, especially when I believe tomorrow Kenta Maeda should be on the mound, and if he pitches anything like he did on his first start, it's just going to be a field day for all of the Rockies bats. So I know I just took 3 minutes to discussing Kershaw, but he is the thing that stands out on this slate. I don't care if you want to do like 80% ownership in tournaments. I'm going to be sky high. If I lose my money, that's fine, but I'll gladly take him at this price, and I hope that the vast majority of people out there say Coors and pass. I don't think that's going to be the case, but I'm not going to be one of them that does that. All right, now let's get focused again. Let's come back down to reality. Let's talk about our top pitching options for the night. And I know I just talked about Madison Bumgarner, but it's hard to not look at him as the top pitching option of the night. We're talking about a guy who on the slate has the third highest K through 9 in last year, just a shade under 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. He had the second best whip of 1.02. He's facing a Padres team that he has absolutely dominated, and he gets the benefit of pitching in Petco Park, which is a very, very pitcher-friendly stadium. So, yes, he's more expensive than Kershaw, but this is a situation, especially with your cash games, where you are paying for the floor and not so much for the ceiling. The ceiling is very high, so I think that there's a good chance you would want to look at him tonight. If you want to save a couple of bucks, especially on FanDuel where he's coming in at $2,000 cheaper, I actually like Darvish tonight. I think some people might look at his first start cringe a little bit, have some questions. But it's important to remember that you have to look past just what did the stats say. Look at the team he was playing. This is a team that went to the World Series last year, pretty much almost won the thing. 7 games, unquestionably the most exciting World Series that I've seen in my time. So yes, it makes sense that he didn't have a great outing against one of the best offenses in baseball in a hitter's park. Hey, guess what, guys? He's in the hitter's park again, so that stinks. But he's facing an Oakland A's team that we are not going to confuse for 1 second with being Cleveland Indian-like. When you look through that lineup, there's plenty of strikeouts to be had. Darvish actually came in with the highest K9 on the slate today with 11.84. Granted, he didn't pitch a full season, but if he's able to go 7 innings, I'm fully expecting him to be able to hit that 10 strikeout, and I don't think there's a ton of danger of more than maybe 1 or 2 runs. These Texas bats are scorching hot. I think that there is very little doubt in my mind, and I get Kendall Graveman had a pretty nice opening day start. He's switching to a much worse environment in Texas with a bunch of bats that can really do some damage against him, so there's no question in my mind that Darvish is an excellent spot to go to. Now, let me tell you a few other guys I do like. I do like Kyle Hendricks. He has some of the best I think he had the most quality starts in baseball last year. Very low whip. He actually has the second lowest whip on the slate, but he does not do a ton in terms of strikeouts, just around 8. But again, cash games, we know Milwaukee strikes out a lot. Does that maybe increase that floor to about a strikeout an inning? I think it could. Wouldn't be shocked to see him go 7-7, and if his bats can get going behind him, pick up the win. I like Danny Duffy, another guy that had over almost 9.5 strikeouts per 9, a reasonably low whip in 2016 against an Astros team that's stumbling around. Dallas Keuchel, I think he's like a cash game guy. Not a high strikeout total going to be expected from him. I think he can mitigate a lot of damage because he is a high ground ball pitcher, doesn't allow a lot of hard contact. All of those things bode well for his upside. But I got to be honest with you, in tournaments, one guy that I'm going to have my fair share of is Jon Gray. I'm expecting extremely low ownership on Jon Gray tonight. He's pitching in Coors. He got rocked in his first outing. But let's look at that first outing. Like, he got rocked was really he had a bad inning, and it just you don't even want to say he imploded necessarily, but it was a lot of bad luck associated with where some of the balls went. I'm not one to hold that type of thing against somebody in the long term. In doing my research, this was just an astronomical stat that stood out to me. 219 at-bats against the Rockies for Clayton Kershaw, and this is as long as StatCast has been collecting data, which is not a long time. But Kershaw has 64 strikeouts on 219 at-bats against the Rockies. Jon Gray has 40 strikeouts on 95 at-bats against the Dodgers. And let's not forget, Jon Gray didn't pitch poorly in Coors. I think his ERA in Coors was under 3. So, I mean, we saw a Dodgers offense that really couldn't get things going yesterday. Now they're taking on the ace of the team. There are some concerns about what he's going to look like this year, obviously, because we only have 1 year of data on him. But he looked good in 4 innings outside of his 5th inning meltdown on opening day for the Rockies. I'm willing to go back to the well in tournaments. You're getting him cheap. He makes a great SP2 on DraftKings in tournaments, and he's a guy who, like, if you're going to strike out the opposing team basically on a clip of, like, that's almost like 12 per 9 or something like that, maybe even 14 or 15. Actually, that's borderline like 16 per 9. You've got some upside there. I do think I probably need to do more research and see, like, did that occur in Coors or were all the games on the road? I think that could be somewhat significant. I haven't got a chance to yet. but I don't mind Jon Gray in tournaments. So once again, our top 3 tournament pitchers: Madison Bumgarner, Darvish, Jon Gray, and got to have some Clayton Kershaw tonight. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel below. Head over to researchfantasy.com, sign up for our MLB mailing list. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Research and Win, and join us again tomorrow.